Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Heather.
Would you like to start just by saying your names and where you are?
Yes. My name is Marianne de Wulf. I'm from Belgium, from the Flemish or the Dutch part of Belgium. But that, yes, and here and now I am in my living room. I have my private practice above in the house, but I don't have a table, so I'm more comfortable here at my dining table. That's the start.
I'm Sara Hendrick. I also live in the Flemish-speaking part of Belgium, in Antwerp. And now I'm in my home office where I work with my clients, and my family is moving around the house meanwhile.
Okay. Well, the first question that I actually have for you is, who are you to each other? What is your relationship?
Okay. Marianne is the coordinator of our Gestalt training, where I'm a trainer too. But before that, she was my trainer when I was a student, Gestalt training. And she has been always sort of, yes, I can say sort of an example for me in the way she dares to let her qualities shine on other people and in groups. And now, as our coordinator, I think to me, but also I think I can speak for my colleagues if I say that she's sort of a tower of strength to all of us. And apart from that, I really admire Marianne for having such a deep interest and knowledge in existential themes, in things as shame or stuff like that. Yeah, I think it's very interesting the way she moves in those.
Okay, and so Marianne, who is Sara for you? How would you describe your relationship?
I met Sara for the first time in a group where, in fact, Sara was too early in that group around supervision. Yeah, but then I met Sara again, but it was fine. It was fine, and I met Sara again in the Gestalt therapy training. And from the first time on, she really got my attention. At that time, and still, but as a student, there were a lot of things I could recognize in dynamics that I have been experiencing, being member of a group. Sara is a person. Sara is not a loud person, but she takes stances at certain points. You can see her. She's visible, and sometimes people have difficulty to bear that visibility, and it's grounded on enthusiasm, and I think we both share enthusiasm. And sometimes enthusiasm is difficult for people. And for me, this is an old theme, and maybe we come back to that. But now back to Sara. So as a trainer, I had sympathy for Sara, and it was obvious that she would, on one day, enter the Gestalt therapy training, and she did. Sara is really ambitious in practicing, training, teaching, living the Gestalt therapy. So we were very happy the moment we could really take her into our team of the Gestalt therapy training. I didn't mention the name of the institute, is IVC in Kortrijk, Belgium. So she is my dear colleague, and also my friend.
Okay. It's interesting that you described each other. I was wondering if there's anything you'd like to add about the qualities of your relationship.
For me, when we meet, Marianne is, you know how different people tend to lift different things up with you in different relationships. Well, for me, when I'm with Marianne, she is appealing to my to a sort of slower pace that I have in me, but sometimes because I think also I'm rather enthusiastic, I sometimes go too quickly, and Marianne is really inviting out my more subtle, slower, delicate way of being. And in that way, I cherish our contacts because I don't think too many people have that effect on me in a way. Yeah.
And what I would like to add is, since you are in our training staff, which is not that long, it's 2 years, kind of that. It's like, I feel trust. If I would describe our connection, it's about trust between a senior and a junior trainer. And we have another junior trainer. So we have 3 seniors, 2 juniors, and we really are supporting our juniors to not to give them wings because they have wings, but so that they can use their wings. That's what I want to offer to Sara, and I know she is appreciating that. And for me, Sara, with your wings and your open wings and your moving wings, you are really a kind of backup. And then it's really, I really feel you in my back as a strength. It's like you share with me, with us, your strength. With me, with us. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Marianne. I really want to stress what you're saying about, I think, the generosity that not only you, but also our 2 other senior colleagues display in giving Maya and me every chance to develop, discover, bring in new ideas. And I think that's not always very self-evident to let go of your, to like let go of the things that you built with a lot of care and a lot of passion to let them be in the hands of younger people. And I feel that trust very much, and I feel very blessed that you all are so wholehearted and generous in sharing and also in passing on. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, now I feel like I'm meeting you a little bit more. So I am curious, because I sort of walk into the middle of your relationship and I don't know either.
You are in the middle of my screen too.
Well, now I feel like I'm getting into your space. So I'm curious, each of you, about yourself, who you are as a person, how you would describe yourself in terms of your interests, your passions, maybe your values. I mean, who you really are as a human being.
That's a big question. I think of a lot of things when you ask that, Heather. I think of different roles I have in my life. I think of different interests. But what comes to mind fairly quickly is my interests in people and also in the world. I have a very, I feel very strongly about people who are in the margins of our society. I guess that also tells something about me, how I have been there in some sort of way. But I am very passionate about giving a voice to the voiceless, and also in my own practice, I see a lot of people who have like not a very typical profile of a white middle class woman, I don't know, highly educated. So I'm always very, very interested if people have a very complicated, maybe difficult way of entering. And I'm very happy that the medical doctors I work with know that, and they always send those people to me. And I feel really comfortable in doing that. And also I have a very strong passion about bringing it to the Gestalt training, because I also feel that we have a fairly elitist target group for students and for Gestalt therapists. And I really want to contribute in opening that up a little bit. Yes. Without preaching or nagging or doing any such thing, but that is something that really makes my motor going. And then I also flourish when I'm in groups, I guess. I have a natural tendency to take the lead. I don't always like that so much about myself, but I also can enjoy being in a group and floating on the group dynamics and just enjoying being together. I really like to go out and take international trainings and meet people from all over the world, and yeah, I can say a lot, but this is enough for now, I think. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sure we'll find out more.
Yeah.
What about you, Marianne? Who are you?
Well, how would I define myself? As a mother, as a grandmother, as a a good friend, a dear colleague, as a Gestalt trainer, a passionate Gestalt trainer, and as a passionate Gestalt therapist. I think my focus is more on the human condition, and the condition of humanity. That's not the same, but it relates, and the human suffering. The human condition and the human suffering, and to meet with the human suffering from face to face, being present with that. I think, I hope, not only with clients, but also with other people or dear ones, I hope I can be there till the end of my life. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm also curious, what event or circumstance in your own lives would you say has influenced or shaped who you are? And also possibly what you do, I don't know.
Go ahead.
Okay. People, events, or?
It could be, but there are two questions, but I asked about events and circumstances.
Yeah.
But if it's a person, that's fine. I mean, I'm sure there may be something that causes you to be interested in human suffering.
Yeah. Yeah. That must be my own history and my own condition. So, yeah, I could tell something about being raised as a child, of course. As I'm growing older, I'm more and more aware how deeply I'm shaped by my father and my mother. The older I grow, the more I realize this, and it's not always the shape I want to be in. So it's still a kind of finding my own shape, and yeah. But what is essential, I think, is, and I know Sara has also a history like that. I was in scouting. Scouting, you know that youth movement.
Okay. No, I'm sorry.
Youth movement. You know youth movement?
Yes,
Yes, so you come together on weekend days, and what do? You live in nature.
Okay.
You make camps. You live together, and what else? So, and you have, of course, the people who are guiding. It's boys' scout, girls' scout. So
scouts. Sorry.
Scouts. Yeah. So. And I was in a kind of special group. I don't know how it happened. And I was not even 20 years old, and I was already in the groups on the national level where you were trained and trained to be a trainer. And that was a very weird experience, because I came in such a group first as a participant, and I thought, I don't think I like these people here in this group, kind of weird people. And then we had this group, and after, I think, 5 days or 7 days of being in that group, I appreciated every participant, and I even loved them. And we had relationships that kept on going. And it was only later that I understood that these groups of boy and girl scouting were trained by Gestalt therapists. So in fact, without knowing, I was already into Gestalt from that early age. And at the time that I discovered Gestalt, it was a kind of rediscovering. And then, since I remember when I walked in the door, the first time I walked in the door of our training institute as a participant, to have a group before to enter the training, I came home. And it's still my home. Voilà.
Yes, I feel that what I'm going to say is very similar to what you just said, Marianne. Of course, the first thing that popped to mind when you asked about events is also some stuff that happened during my childhood, and especially the way I had to make some very difficult choices to survive, even, I think. But what always was a very special place to me was also the youth movement, scouting movement. And I also, I was in another youth movement first. And there was some rivalry between the scouts and the other movements.
The hero?
The hero, yes. And then when I was a little bit older, when I was I was a trainer already in the hero, and then in some sort of trajectory, I was invited to do a scouting training. And I was like, yeah, scouting, I don't know, well, let's go and see. And my mind was blown. It was the way in which they had so much. The course they didn't put it together up front. It was just like, let's sit together and see what happens. And I was appalled. I was like, oh my God, they didn't prepare anything and they're so lazy. And oh, my mind was just, but at the end of those 5 days, it was like, this is what I want to do. And then I actually took on a job as the responsible person of all the trainings for scouting in Flanders. And it was one of the most important periods of my life, because I really learned a lot about group dynamics, and later on I also understood that it was about Gestalt. And I had the exact same experience as you, Marianne. I didn't know that about you, that when I entered the EBC and the trainings there, it was like really coming home. And at first I didn't understand, because I was like, of course there were loads of things that I had to learn, but like the undercurrents, like the understream was like, I know this is me, this is what I know, this is really where I can yield into. So yeah, I think that was because I did some searching in where to do my therapy training, and that was the decisive elements, the homecoming. Yeah.
Interesting. It's interesting how Gestaltists infiltrate organizations, and it's really noticeable. It's like something feels familiar. You can almost smell it somehow.
Yes, and now every year our organization, our institute, also has got a lot of trainings in companies and organizations. And every year I go to the train the trainer weekend of scouting, and I still teach some Gestalt stuff to them. So the circle is.
Now you're the person who shows up and doesn't prepare anything and.
A little bit.
Little things.
Yes. Yeah.
Wonderful. So I'm also curious. what attracts each of you the most about Gestalt therapy? What part of it are you, I would say, interested in or in love with or passionate about? Is there a particular piece of theory, a particular part of the work? What is it that you are most interested in about Gestalt?
I will start. When you ask this question, maybe it's not really where you are aiming to, but what comes up is to be with people. Of course, I'm in the Gestalt therapy training and I'm a supervisor, and let's say I love to work at the top. I love to work with high standards, but I also love to work with the beginning. And that's also part, I think, of my education. In fact, I am a master in, how should you translate it? Remedial education or something like that. So for disabled people. So where you have to take this very little steps. And sometimes it's like there are no steps to take because it's like we are at the bottom and still be there. And by being there, being present, moving little bit, and every little bit of a movement is a movement. So yeah, that's my answer. Yeah.
I guess I'm very fascinated about a couple of things in Gestalt. One of them being everything that's concerning the body. I was put on that path mainly because of Marianne, who is also in this interview series. But later on, I discovered some other people. I also took the training with Rowella. And for me, that is a very, I think what I said before about getting into a slower, more meticulous way of being, that's also something that helps me with that. And that's very healthy for me as a person too. And on the other side, I am very, I'm quite enthusiastic about using different kind of experiments in Gestalt therapy. I know that the relationship is our most valuable experiment, but then again, I still feel that I am quite eager to also use some materials or actions or moving or doing stuff together. I feel that is some way in which I can put a lot of creativity, and I feel that things get flowing in a way. So yeah, when that happens, I'm so thrilled, and I think those are moments that I really, really, really love my work. That doesn't feel as work at that moment. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm curious how each of you would say that Gestalt has affected you as a person.
I grew up in a family where my sister was considered as the more emotional one, and I was considered as the more rational one. And I really like to think and read and write and stuff like that. But I think that Gestalt to me has sort of balanced balanced things out in a way that I was able to not have to choose between them, but to let them be together. And that was quite a struggle, sometimes still is, but I think that was the main gift I got from engaging in Gestalt. Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Marianne? How has all of this affected you?
I think Gestalt is a way of life. It's a philosophy. I cannot be otherwise than a Gestalt person since I found this language. And when I look now, I would say that it has enriched me extremely with the relational perspective and the field perspective. And we are still maybe again at the beginning of revaluing or rethinking the field perspective, which makes me feel it's like this movement. So I'm not this one. I'm not on my own. I'm part of a bigger field, and this is really a wonderful given. And what is figural is kind of manifestation of dynamic of the field, and that might be when I'm feeling aggression, I express the aggression that is in the field. When I feel loneliness, it's the expression of something of the field. And in conflicts, it's not about me against you. It's we are together in a field where there are difficulties. Let's name it. Let's try to name it. This is really great stuff to work with, and this really affects me every day. And also another thing, the way Gestalt therapy looks at responsibility, so the ability to respond. So that makes me able, again, look at me, it makes me able to face every problem or every phenomenon as something I can give an answer to. That's great. Voilà.
I can really relate to what you're saying, Marianne, about the field perspective. I think it's also something that we are very much into the last few years. I also feel that is additionally on to what you were saying already, that it's sort of deculpabilizing, if that is the word, that it takes off the blame. Like I'm doing this and you're doing that. It's like looking at what is happening and how are we functions of the field rather than opponents or yeah, and also as a Gestalt therapist, I find that very helpful to not beat myself on the head about doing something, not doing something, but to regard everything that is happening as information about what is going on. And that's, for me, that's very freeing. Yeah.
Mhm. It's interesting the way that you just framed that, Marianne. It's all of a sudden, I just heard the ego disappear, and it's about, it's not me as a fixed being, and I have responsibility, but I am a being in the field and of the field. I really liked what you said there about how that relates to conflict. That's very interesting. I think I'd like to go visit you too at your institute.
You're very welcome, Heather.
Thank you. And now actually I'm curious. I haven't done this before, but I'm wondering what you two would ask each other. That little burning question that you've never asked, or
You are right into the middle of something that is happening. And it's I feel the emotion coming up. So what I would like to ask Sara is, are you willing to continue in your way, but are you willing to continue my job after I'm retired from the institute? Whatever that means, it's not like dysfunction or that, but are you willing to step into an open place? Because when I will go, there will be an open place. And will you be willing to step into that place and do your thing?
Oh, Marianne, this is very touching the way you ask it and what you're asking. I also feel it's very well. It's not so. Yeah, I'm so all of a sudden I'm aware of the camera that is running. I have two answers, Marianne. It's yes and no. Yes, because I feel very honored that you see something in me that I think I don't see in myself completely. And in some things, I feel I can really be in your footsteps. Things like taking care of the whole. Marianne is also the person who never forgets when it's your birthday or when you have to do something difficult or to write a text message at the exact right moment. I think I have some of that quality too.
Yes.
So I feel that there are some things that I can really follow in your footsteps. And also there is some part of me that goes like, no, how could I ever? But then I remind myself that I think your strength is to put your hand under the group and let them flourish. And it's like you said before, Heather, that it's also something about not putting yourself or your ego in the middle, but being sort of a leading servant, if that makes sense. And I cannot say that I am able to do that, but I think I really want to learn it along the way.
Thank you for this beautiful answer on my question.
I feel like I just witnessed a marriage proposal or something.
It is relational.
I feel like the waiter who brought you the ring, she really didn't ask me to do that. I just, it would be a good idea. I didn't hear a no though, Sarah.
Yeah, I said no. How could I ever?
That sounded like a not yet. I didn't hear a no though. That's just me.
Yeah, well, we'll let
I
it
know.
sink.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you have a question for Marianne? Or
Okay. I think my question is, will you please, Marianne, never leave us or never leave me, even though you will be retired in some years?
Before you ask the question, I had this answer, and I think it fits. And my answer is, yes, I will always support you.
That's very reassuring.
Huh. I guess the last question that I have is actually right where this is going, which is what's next for you two? What do you see yourselves doing, or what would you like to see Gestalt do in the future?
What is happening here, and it's like a kind of it's a beautiful process. It's like we really came to kind of closure, or a closure in which there is a new direction. We are in this transition, and for me it's open. At this point, it's like we had this beautiful circle, and there is another direction, and at this very moment it's open for me. This is a direction, an openness. Yeah.
I feel that my answer would be way more practical, and I would like take off the worth of what you just said, Marianne. So I'm just going to hold my tongue.
No. I was almost saying, and please, Sara, be concrete. Tell us your plans. So please do it. You have so much in your mind and in what's sort of going on. Please tell the world, please.
The world. What comes to me first is that in our country we have a very challenging situation going on, about psychotherapy, about the place that is reserved in that for Gestalt, about the way we are going to shape our Gestalt training, the way we are going to connect to other currents or to universities or to other institutes, or I don't know. So I feel there's lots of stuff coming towards us, and I feel it's important to find the right balance between our response ability and also about staying connected to our roots and to who we are and where we stand for. So I would really like us to find a way in which to meet that challenge in a way that is both new and rooted in our history.
That sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. This has been really, really lovely, and I'm wondering if there's anything that either of you feel you would like to add right now.
I would really like to thank you, Heather, because I think you unknowingly made space for something that was already happening a little bit. But then as we see each other, we sometimes have a lot of time to devote to practicalities. And I feel like we've been given a gift here. So I really would like to thank you for taking your time, for putting up this project, for doing it apart from everything else. So I'm really grateful. And also to you too, Marianne. It was sort of fate that brought us together here, because we had to divide the groups. And I'm really thankful that we have shared this in this way.
Thank you. And I would also like to express my gratitude to you, Heather, for the project, but also for the way you were here with us. The openness, the simplicity, which is giving so much possibilities, and this was a great experience. So I'm sure I will get my phone within a minute and talk with Sara. And I hope I will meet you again, or I will ever meet you, Heather.
Yes, it would be nice to actually meet.
So we live in Belgium. You're welcome.
Wonderful. You know, as soon as I'm allowed out of my house, I'm sure I can get closer to you somehow.
Good. Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have to leave you two alone to continue your conversation.